Hi, welcome to Daily Confetti with Carter and Keri. Today is Monday, June 3rd, and this is actually sleep deprivation Keri. Yay! Sorry, we'll cut that part out.
No,
Hi.
I actually like sleep deprivation, Carrie.
Yeah, she's pretty
As you
loopy.
mentioned, she's loopy.
She
Yeah.
is. Yeah. We're going to talk about something fun today. Oh, subscribe if you haven't already subscribed to YouTube. That would really help us. And we have a subscribe star and it's super exciting. I was very excited when we got our first subscriber, and then we got 4 more. It's very cool.
I know. It's now we have to finish the mugs and ship them out because we have a couple
Oh
people
yeah.
who are going to be in the Kofefi Klatch.
Yeah.
I
It's
want one
fun.
too, though. I'm tired of using someone else's mug. I've got Crowder's mug here. So do you. We're giving free advertisement to someone who, like, he's funny, but I'm not even aligned with Crowder ideologically. I just like his mug.
He's
I
got a
mean, I'm
great
more
mug.
aligned with him than I am with like Jon Stewart. So I
Right.
guess if we're going to advertise someone, I'll take Crowder, but still.
Yeah. But it's time for our own mug. You're right. I really just got this because I wanted to support alternative media, and the mug is awesome.
Yeah,
And
it's a great mug. We have to make sure our mug is better.
yeah, it's gotta be good. It's gotta be
That's
a perfect weight, and it's gotta
yeah.
be perfectly the appropriate size.
Yeah, it's
Like,
nice and heavy and big. Yeah. All right.
okay.
Um,
So
you have something,
our
yeah, you had stuff you wanted to talk about.
yeah, I went down this rabbit hole that our friend Mandy Statmiller suggested we check out. And now I know what a lot of the kids on YouTube are talking about. And I asked Carter, are you familiar with boomers, zoomers, bloomers, and what's the other one? Doomers with a D. And he's not. So we're
No,
gonna
well,
watch.
yeah, you asked me and I was like, maybe you should just ask me on the show because I don't know. I mean, I think we all know what boomers are, right?
Not anymore. Well,
Oh,
we all know
okay.
what boomers are, but the young people are now using the word boomers to mean anyone between the ages of 30 and 75.
Oh my God. Wait a minute. I think by saying young people, you're automatically a boomer.
I'm automatically a boomer. I know. I can't. This is going to be the episode where I'm like, I
Wait, so
reveal
we're
my.
boomers?
Yeah, they view everyone old, and they view old as 30 to 75.
Oh my God.
And it
All
doesn't
right.
even, okay, so and some of these memes are hilarious, but they don't make sense, which I think is part of the reason why they're funny. Because like this one user we're going to look at, he does a series of videos making fun of boomer, and they're all called 30-year-old boomer like plays Nintendo, or 30-year-old boomer plays guitar, like Guitar Hero.
Wait, I'm
But
sorry. I have another question. I'm just thinking this
what?
through now, as I'm hearing this. Boomers. If boomers are my parents' age, 75 can't be the cutoff.
I know. It doesn't.
What's after 75? What do we
They
call
don't.
those people?
I don't know. They've just redefined it.
Maybe
They don't.
75 is equivalent to infinity in their mind, and it doesn't
Yeah.
matter. I don't
It
know.
doesn't matter. It's so funny. I don't know.
Okay.
Okay,
I'm
so
sorry for
boomers.
derailing and being an idiot. So
No,
boomers,
I
the
had to.
boomers is 30 to 75.
Right, and the thing is, in these memes, this one guy we're going to look at, he has everything is called 30-year-old boomer doing XYZ, and the things that the boomer are doing are things that 30-year-olds would not be doing. Like 30-year-olds didn't play Nintendo. 30-year-olds didn't like
Right.
all the cultural things he has them doing are things that I guess people in Generation X would be doing. People our age.
Right.
It's just
They're
a
anachronistic
yeah.
descriptions.
It's just really funny. And then okay, so that's boomers.
Do you think this is intentional? Is there some sort of ideological um, implication with calling someone a boomer? Because I thought that there was, but I don't know.
I don't know. I think it just maybe just morphed to be anyone older than Zoomers. So Zoomers are Generation Z,
Oh, okay. So Zoomers are Z,
right?
which
And
is the
then
current kind of in high school now generation, right?
right, it's like the generation that is supposedly according to data going to be more conservative than any generation since the greatest generation. It's the generation of Soph, the YouTuber that we've
Right.
talked
We
about.
need
It's
a generation like that again.
yeah, they're also they tend to be some of them tend to be very nihilistic, but in a different way than the SJWs. And there's this other group they call Doomers, and from what I can understand, Doomers can be Zoomers or they can maybe be boomers. I'm not sure, but doomers is more represents not an age group, but a state of mind. And doomers are basically nihilists who want to kill themselves because everything is pointless and we're living in such a crazy time, just an insane.
Wait, so they want to kill themselves, or they want to kill everyone else, or what are they? Are
No,
they like?
They're suicidal, but a lot of the doomer videos show them listening to self-help and becoming bloomers. And bloomers are when they're more like positive and they're like, well, everything's pointless and meaningless and we live in a crazy world, so just enjoy it while you can. And then they're like positive. It's really weird, but funny.
Wow. Okay. I would think that the population of doomers can't last long because you either accomplish your goal or you blossom into a bloomer.
I guess so. I don't know. You know what? We're totally, you're right. We could totally be mocked right now. This is basically a boomer trying to explain this stuff in a really poor way to another boomer.
That's fine. I don't understand it at all. And mock me all you want. I'm learning.
Okay.
You know, someday you Zoomers will be old people learning whatever the hell the young kids are doing, and you'll be like, I remember when we mocked you. And that's fine. Okay.
So let's look up one of these. Like if you do a YouTube search for doomer, you'll find a ton of different users who've done videos. But let's look up this one guy in particular. His name is Prince of Zimbabwe.
Sorry. I got email from him.
Did you?
No.
Oh.
He wants to give us a lot of money. I just have to send my bank account information. Okay, hold on. Okay, what video are we going to look at?
Let's watch one of the boomers first. I kind of liked either 30-year-old Nintendo boomers or 30-year-old boomer plays guitar.
Let's watch 30-year-old Nintendo boomers because that makes no sense.
Okay, exactly. They don't play Nintendo. Yeah. Also, there's this meme, and you'll notice this in some of the videos, that boomers are not just people 30 to 75, but they're always talking about how they wish things could be the way they were. And they're always pounding like Monster energy drinks.
Okay, here we go.
Hey, whoa!
It's
awesome.
Terrible. I don't know. It's weird.
No, awesome.
It's awesome.
It is awesome. I mean, I don't understand it, but so okay, I'm actually older than this. I can't even relate to Nintendo 64 or Mario. Like I don't.
Oh.
My thing was like Atari. That's how old I am.
And you're just a few years older than me. That's like all the difference a few years can make.
Yeah, but like I guess I had like a couple friends who were a little bit younger who like had a Nintendo, but we never had a Nintendo. Maybe I was just a nerd, but I think I was just too old. So I didn't play any of these games, but I kind of see the sentiment, I think, right? There's this kind of weird nostalgia that a lot of Gen Xers do have for this stuff.
Yeah.
And there is a lot of like these people all look like they live in their mom's basement and they're drinking energy drink and they're playing like retro video games, which is pretty pathetic. I mean, even I don't play retro video games. But I mean, I don't think it's horrible.
It's not horrible. It's very No, I think it's
Well,
fascinating.
so well, I want to talk about something. So there's a guy in here who's wearing a shirt that says "Special Boy," and he's got a little picture of someone on the shirt, and I don't know what it means. There's guys playing the Nintendo Switch, which is interesting because that's new, right?
At the beginning.
All the people at the beginning are Nintendo. They're all playing the Switch, and I only know that because I have a daughter.
I think those
Uh,
people at the beginning are not boomers. The boomers are the ones who show up in the truck with the TV and the
oh,
actual.
so those are like they're making fun of themselves because those people are pathetic looking also.
Yeah, I think those are like young people,
This
maybe.
guy's balding.
Oh, I don't
Okay.
know. But
All right.
they all are drawn that way, kind of.
Okay, so they're young people. Oh, I see. And the boomers look like Hicks showing up in a truck playing Nintendo 64. I get it.
Right, and it's the young people at the end whose head explode, who are kind of like, I think it's
So then they have this is a Zelda reference. I get that.
yeah.
And
There's like
then
a Mario Kart.
oh, and then the younger generation just wants to shoot themselves because the boomers showed up.
I don't know. It's let's
Okay.
watch one more just so we
Yeah,
have
I was gonna say
context.
let's look let's double down on our old foginess and watch another one in disbelief. Which one
Boomer
would
and
you like to?
Guitar is good because it shows 3 different generations.
Oh, okay, okay. Here we go. This is 30-year-old boomer playing guitar.
Hey Jimmy, let me show you some real music.
No, Grandpa, go away!
Okay,
I like that one better even.
so this one I want to understand what's happening. Sorry for being. There's probably another derogatory word for an idiot boomer. Um, it looks like grandpa and the grandson are both like really infuriated with the annoying
Boomer.
dad
Yeah,
who's playing that fucking game. What's it called?
Guitar Hero.
Yeah, he's playing that Guitar Hero game. So I thought they were making fun of the old guy who was playing his guitar, and I was like, that sucks. Like, that is real music, and there's a lot of really good music. But then they weren't. They were making fun of the guy who was playing Guitar Hero. Okay.
They're making fun of the boomer yet again.
Yeah. Well, I mean, people who learn the skill of Guitar Hero should be made fun of. So I think
I mean,
that's
is it a commentary on are boomers here supposed to be kind of delusional and not in touch with how horrible the world actually is, living in nostalgia, or is it that the boomers have actually discovered some kind of happiness that the other that the younger generation can't tap into? Or I mean, they're making fun of them, but it's also kind of loving in a way. It's like a loving mocking, I think.
you know what? I think anything I say will be wrong. So
We're so wrong. We don't know. This is such a old people look at young people's videos and tell you
maybe
what
we need to get like a high schooler in to explain. I mean, on the other hand, maybe it's like 4chan, in which case you're not. First of all, you wouldn't be allowed to explain it. You'd be violating the rules of 4chan. But also, you either get it or you don't get it, and there's nothing to explain really. It's funny. I mean, it is kind of funny.
Yeah.
Um,
It makes
but
me think of oh gosh, so it makes me think of our generation, something like Salad Fingers. I don't know if you watched that ever, and it was really dark and
no,
subversive, and you
salad fingers.
it's just an early online kind of a meme or series. It's dark. Let's not even pull it up right now. There's a like that, or I mean, it makes me think of some stuff from our generation, but really like hyper ADHD in a way, if that makes sense. Just like short attention span.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I think you could argue that I can't say boomer generation because it's not accurate, so it's hard to even have a conversation. You can argue that the Gen Xers probably have a pretty hard time adjusting. So like the older generations, you know, they grew up and started their careers and everything without computers, and people like maybe computers a little bit, but didn't have the internet and all this stuff. And like people like my dad basically retired. Yeah, the internet was around, but most of his job was probably pushing paper. It was like old fashioned stuff. And like, you know, yeah, he had the email thing going on, but it wasn't a part of his life really, right? It was introduced, and, you know, and that was fine. And the younger generations, you know, they have a surgically implanted iPhone from birth, right? So that's fine. They like totally, it's integrated into who they are. And I think maybe the Gen Xers, you know, during our formative years, were also the formative years of the internet. So there was like rapid change while we were rapidly changing. And maybe it leaves Xers like not really sure where they belong. I don't know. I mean,
yeah,
because like I grew, like, this is going to date me. My first job, so I built the first website for the School of Engineering that I went to. Like I did that in college as a freshman, so they didn't even have a website. And my first job, I was an engineer, and we were still using we had a library of old of books with different parts, and we would have field application engineers come, and like we would look through books for like, I think we need this part, and we'd have a field application engineer come and like talk to us about how to design the thing we were designing, which part to buy. And like all of that is just, I mean, the thought, and there was no Google, or you didn't look anything up or buy parts on like that. It's totally changed. But I'm also, that said, right, I also can, you know, I'm not a great programmer anymore, but like I understand the web. I can program in, you know, I can use Node. I can do some JavaScript. I can do like, I understand, I can build a basic iPhone app. Like I understand enough of this stuff. So it's a weird transition to live a life where you're actually old enough to be functionally an adult and part of society, and at the beginning of your life, and see this huge transition, right? But I don't know.
Well, we can also
know why that would make them different. I don't know.
We can remember a time before this. Somebody I was talking to recently, I'm sleep deprived Keri, can't remember. But somebody I was talking to recently was talking about there's something really important about being able to remember a time before the cell phone, the addiction to these gadgets and devices.
Yeah.
And Zoomers can't. They were raised in it, and I don't think we even know yet what that does to. We don't know what it's done to our brain, much less people who were raised on it and don't have it before.
Right. We do actually know some, and actually this is something that I'm very cognizant of with my daughter, and even try and self-police a little bit. So deep thought requires uninterrupted long periods of focus and uninterrupted time. And so if you are even just like checking, you get a text, that can kill your focus, like and interrupt you. And we already know that context switching is very expensive for the brain, right? So I think it takes like 15 or 20 minutes to get back into what they call flow. You're back into the state where your brain is like in deep focus and you're holding a lot of context in your head. And so for deep work, I'm not throwing tech. I'm not a Luddite, right? Like, yes, tech is awesome. Phones are awesome, right? But for deep work, you've got to get rid of them. you've got to literally not have your phone in the room or whatever. You've got to disconnect. And I believe there's also been studies that show periods of silence are good for your brain as well and your ability to function. And so we're living in a time, I mean, I catch myself doing this all the time where I like, even if I'm doing nothing, I've got music on or something always going on in the background. It's easy to wake up and the first thing you do is be checking Twitter or on your phone in some way. Same if it's the last thing you do when you go to bed, right? It's easy to like my phone's sitting right here next to me. So if I'm writing or trying to focus on something, it's easy to get interrupted. And I think that a great life skill for everyone to learn is, and I'm not great at it, I know it's a skill that I'm working on, is to be able to have the self-control and discipline to say, okay, I'm going to shut down my apps. I'm going to shut down Twitter. I'm going to move my phone over here. I'm going to take this time to focus. It's not actually that, whatever is happening in the world is actually not that critical. It can wait for a few hours while I go deep on this particular thing. And I think it's pretty dangerous to lose the ability as a species to lose the ability to focus and go deep. Focused thought is extremely important for invention and progress and like challenging old ideas and really thinking out new models. Like all that stuff is super, super important. So maybe that makes me sound like an old guy to the Zoomers, but it's fact. And
No, and
my
I think
understanding
actually,
is that Zoomers actually understand there are facts. That's a fact. I don't know what to do about it.
no, I think Zoomers would agree with you. And I think that's why you see this level of what looks like nihilism and maybe is nihilism, because I think this is just me speculating based on, watching videos and stuff, but Zoomers seem to have an understanding that things maybe were better in some ways before all of this, even though they didn't live then. Like there's this whole subculture now of Zoomers who love listening to 1990s mall music. You would have no idea. Yeah, like when you take a 90s song and you make it
Muzak version of 90s songs.
Muzak. So there's tons of YouTubers who are young, who are Zoomers, who are Generation Z, who make videos that go with 1990s Muzak. And the videos are amazing because I read an article about them, which is how I started watching some of them. They showcase a kind of nostalgia for a time period they didn't even live through. And they show video from the 90s in some of them. And it's really weird because they didn't live then. But it's actually, I started thinking about it and I was like, well, I grew up with a bit of nostalgia for decades I didn't live through. And maybe that was because of pop culture but I grew up with nostalgia for like the 60s or
I totally get it. In fact, this is weird we're having this conversation. I just had a conversation yesterday about, so you mentioned the Invasion of the Body Snatchers the other day.
Great movie. Yeah.
I had never seen it. I mistakenly watched the old black and white version instead of the one that you wanted me to watch, I think, or whatever that you were mentioning.
Yeah. The one with Donald Sutherland's the best.
I watched the old one. And it was one of those, like, I can't sleep. So I'm like, I'll watch this stupid movie. I ended up watching the whole thing. But the point is, it's an old black and white movie, and it got me thinking about a lot of old movies, and I realized that I haven't installed. I didn't live during that time, and yeah, there's a lot of problems that I have with that time. So when I say there's nostalgia, it's like I don't mean that I wish there was more racism and that women were stuck in the kitchen. Like that's not what I mean by nostalgia I have for that time. But one thing that was interesting is I realized that, at least as depicted in films, there was much more of a community, and people, they knew each other, they cared about their neighbors, they weren't constantly, on devices or distracted or whatever, and they focused and they went from one thing to another. And there was a lot of deliberate, slow movement, but I don't mean to be derogatory in the slow movement. I mean like deliberate, conscious, slow movement, like, oh, let me think about that. I'm going to drive over to Dr. Fred and ask him about this. And we'll drive over to Dr. Fred. And
Mhm.
it seemed like they were enjoying their existence more and making deliberate action, like taking deliberate action, not being frantic about stuff. And I'm sure that that's romanticized. I mean, I'm picking it from movies. Like I'm sure it's romanticized, and I get that. But that's not how things are romanticized today in Hollywood. It's a lot more frenetic. And I often do have nostalgia for, remember when people dressed well and had good posture and had manners and, wrote thank you letters. Like, that doesn't sound so bad. I mean, mea culpa, I don't write thank you letters either, but that doesn't sound so bad, right? It doesn't mean you don't have Snapchat. It means you do have this other stuff. So I think I kind of get that. I don't know what it is about the 90s that was nostalgic, because I did live through them, but
I think it's the same thing. I think they didn't live through it, but they maybe have the sense of nostalgia for something based on the cultural representations they've seen of it. Right. So this is another popular Generation Z YouTuber, as far as I can tell. This video has 500,000 views. This guy is a guy who specializes in doing meme compilations, where he's just taking stuff from pop culture and editing it all together into some artistic meme compilation. But I think this one is interesting because this shows what I was talking about before, about how I think they're it's almost like an illustration of an ADHD brain, or how you might become more likely to be ADHD in this culture that we're in. Because look at how fast this jumps between. Well, just go ahead. I'm setting it up too much.
So lots of jump cuts. Here we go.
I don't know what to do.
Scoopy scoop, scoopy dee whoop, whoopty scoopy whoop, whoopty scoopy, scoopy whoop.
Y'all said I wouldn't make it, but bitch, look, I'm verified now. Lil Tay, the youngest fucks up.
Thank you, Kanye. Very cool.
This is brilliant, but I like this.
Mr. Zuckerberg, would you be comfortable sharing with us the name of the hotel you stayed in last night?
What
Now,
is this?
This goes on and on, but he basically just takes memes, from what I can tell, and strings them together and makes it some kind of art with them in a way. It's weird. It's like one thing bleeds into another. That was kind of lagging a little bit, but that Zuckerberg part made me laugh out loud because it was so awkward and tense. He had this almost like a tense horror music in the background while he was slowly sipping water.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny. That's the weird thing. It's also just, I think the right word that I'm looking for is some of this stuff I find mesmerizing. I don't know why, but it's mesmerizing. I'm just, what is going on? It makes no sense. And it's oddly alluring. I don't what is it? It's really weird.
I don't want this to get too long, but there's two other quick things. I want to show that first guy we were watching, the
Zimbabwe dude.
Guy. We haven't showed a doomer yet, which we should show, because the doomers are actually all over YouTube now, and it's not just this one creator. And they're all using this art. You may have seen this art during the NPC meme. The doomer is the kind of, it looks like a wrinkly old man face. It's the face that is not an NPC a lot of the time. So he's got one like Doomer to Bloomer. He's got another one, like his most recent Doomer one, I think is a good illustration.
Okay, so you wanted to watch this video about doomers.
And I think that by the way, does that mean that feeling when no give
Girlfriend.
a F? No girlfriend. Oh, okay. So yeah. So one of the definitions I saw of doomers is that they're like an updated version of incels, except they don't want to kill women.
So are they incels or okay? So they're like they're rejects basically.
Yeah, they don't have girlfriends.
Okay.
Hey, Anon, we are closing soon.
I know I'm just some random fag on the internet, but please listen. Depression won't go away out of nowhere. It might never even fully go away, but there is so much you can do to make your life better. The first step to a better life is bettering yourself. Miracles don't exist, so stop hoping for one. Start taking care of yourself. Clean your room. Quit caffeine. Go to sleep at an acceptable time. Start working out. Find a long-lasting goal. Get a hobby. Face your fears and stop giving a fuck, etc. The key to happiness is to constantly work on yourself and be a better version every day. You are the person in control. So shut the fuck up and take care of yourself, you pussy.
Wait, that was super positive.
Exactly.
That was like a Jordan Peterson moment. I mean,
Yes.
clearly they took some stuff from Jordan Peterson. So this is the transformation of the doomer to becoming a go-getter. Is that what this is?
Yeah, and a lot of the doomer ones seem to be like that, where it's it's this very depressed, maybe perhaps suicidal, nihilistic young person who then gets some kind of, in the video, gets some kind of just common sense wisdom that the society is lacking, that society is not giving people anymore. Just something really straightforward about like, take care of your health, go to the gym, clean your room, and
Right.
they become a bloomer at the end.
Interesting. I think that's great. I don't know what to say about it. I mean, I'm glad that someone is putting this in a format that Zoomers and or Doomers can consume, I assume.
Yeah.
That's what this is. But yeah. Huh. Well, that's the thing. I think one thing that actual boomers and also I think Gen Xers they've been horrible parents. Really, really, really bad parents. Right? Who invented participation trophies? Like all the stuff that builds young adults who are completely incapable of dealing with the world. It's not the young adults' fault. I mean, yes, there's free will, but I mean, if you look at it at a society level, that generation of parents sucked. They really sucked. And I don't know if it's just standards of living got good and they were just like, we want to spoil everyone, or if they had their own. I haven't actually dug into the psychology of why that might be. But we certainly, there was certainly one of the first generations of latchkey kids. There was, they had, with both parents working. So actually, this is something that we do know, right? One of the things that I like when we talk about the nostalgia for an era that I did not live through, it's one of the things is the era in which a guy with a high school diploma could be a mechanic, and that was enough to have a house, a couple cars, several kids, and his wife could stay home and take care of the children. And were they rich? No, but could they make ends meet and live a happy life that way? Yeah, they could. And it's not the young generation didn't screw up the economy. That's not their fault, right? It's all of us, right? I would argue that it's not even really our fault. I mean, some of us voted to screw it up as soon as we could vote. So we're 20 years into blame, roughly, right? But there's 40, 60 years of 80 years. I mean, there's decades and decades of screwing up that has happened to bring us to the point where, a lot of people I would say slightly younger than me, although a lot of people my age as well, their parents both had to work to kind of maintain the standard of living that their parents had or that they expected to have or whatever, or that for whatever reason they felt they deserved or needed. And I can't imagine that not being raised by your parent and being sent to daycare and shuffled around to babysitters or being a latchkey kid, being sent to, after school programs, like being raised by someone else can't be good, right? It can't have no effect on an entire generation. And so even if that's all they did, it would be bad. And they also were the ones to introduce this whole, participation trophy. I know someone, I won't mention because I don't want to out this person, but I know someone who her parents, they did not want her to ever experience, I might have mentioned her before, they did not want her to ever experience failure. So they never let her play any competitive sports. They never let her play anything, like do anything competitive. Everything was cooperative, no failure. Big surprise, she becomes an adult. What's she afraid of? Failure. She can't do anything that she might fail at. She's terrified of doing anything, trying anything new because she's afraid to fail because she never experienced failure. Right? So it's things like that. Failure to discipline, right? That was the other thing. We went from this abusive discipline model where, spare the rod, spoil the child, and by rod they meant like actual hitting people, to let them get away with anything and there's no discipline and like kids are just free and everything's okay. There's been really horrific parenting for a couple generations. I don't know exactly the effects, but it can't be good.
No, I do think it has to do with parenting, but it's not just, I believe you were talking about Gen X at the beginning being bad parents. Is that right?
Well, I think
because it's the
slightly
boomers
older Gen X,
yeah.
like slightly. I don't think Gen X was well parented.
Exactly. Gen X was not well parented. And I think things bleed over because we talk about generations as if they're cut and dry and all of this,
They're not, right.
time. And they're not. Like, for example, I'm not sure about I know, like, I fall right on the line between Gen X and millennial. So
I'm mid Gen X. I'm like a mid Gen Xer.
Right. So some studies I'm listed in the date range as a millennial and others I'm listed as Gen X. So it's kind of a weird, who knows, but, and the same thing with boomers and there are these lines. So, I think the boomers, like you said, the later boomers are more of what I would say is that everybody gets a participation trophy, like their kids were, raised by someone probably other than one of the parents, meaning both parents were working, or maybe there was only one parent in the home and who was working. And so they were raised by, grandparents or babysitters, or we said latchkey or Girl Scouts or whatever, after school clubs. They were raised by the public education system. And it's just I don't know. I do think that has a lot to do with it. But the technology, the social media and the technology thing, that it's something that is different. I mean, that adds another dimension to it because now you have kids who are being raised by YouTube.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Which, by the way, this is going too long already, but we should do an episode one day on the crazy world of YouTube for toddlers. I
don't even want to know that exists. Seriously.
Okay, but it's insane, and it's dark. There's an article I'll send you ahead of that one, but
I just want to say something to parents or potential parents. It's not that fucking hard. I'm sorry for swearing. I have a daughter. She didn't watch a movie or a video until she was, I think, 6. Maybe it was 5. It is not that hard to just completely ban and outlaw all of that when they're young. And she's better for it. She's an avid reader, right? and because she had to read, you know, and it's not like I wasn't busy. I was an entrepreneur. I, you know, work way more hours than you do, probably. I certainly did. And that's not the issue. Wasn't that it's not possible to do. You're just lazy. You're just fucking lazy. And if you're gonna stick your kid from, you know, birth on in front of YouTube, don't have kids. I don't want to see what the result of that. It's just not good. Save us from your
You're a
offspring.
parent, so you get to have, I feel like your opinion comes from a grounded place than mine, because I'm not. But I think if I were to have kids right now, I would not be giving them devices for a very long time. And I don't think they need devices in schools. I mean,
they don't need devices in schools at all.
They don't need phones, that's for sure. And I don't like the idea of Google is giving all these Chromebooks to schools for free. And so kids are using the Chromebooks, but your kids are the product. Your kids are being advertised to, and your kids' data is being collected on what they do. And they're basically looking at children in public schools. Google is getting all this information to learn how to better advertise to them and sell them things as they grow, as they get older.
Yeah, you're totally right. And it's actually important to be aware of the Adobe business model. I think of it as the Adobe model. I don't know if this is, they probably didn't invent it, but it was very successful. And there are variants of this all over the place. And you just have to think about this for a moment. Adobe gave away their software to students. Why? Well, they want the students to get addicted to using the Adobe software. There's other graphic manipulation tools in the universe, right? But Adobe gave theirs away for free. This is a while ago. I'm sure everyone does it now or whatever, but Adobe gave their stuff for free. And what happened was, well, you graduate and you have a job where you're supposed to do image manipulation or you're supposed to film editing or whatever. And what tool do you want in your workplace? Well, the one you know, because the tools are complex and there's a learning curve. And so you want Photoshop instead of whatever the alternative, I don't even know what the alternative to Photoshop is, right? That's what you want. And you to assume that Google isn't thinking that long term is naive. They absolutely are. They know, you know, another 10 years that kid's going to have, you can make spending decisions themselves. And so that's what that's all about. I will say,
and they're already influencing what spending decisions their parents are making.
Yeah. I will, other than teaching computer programming, I will say if you have a computer, if you need computers in school, it's a failure of the teachers. But if you're in a school with a teacher who supposedly is good at educating children, what the hell do you need a computer for? You don't need a computer to teach math if you have a competent math teacher. You don't need a computer to teach French if you have a competent French teacher. In fact, if you have a competent French and math teacher, they should be way better than any software program out there doing that, because they're interacting with your child directly and understanding it's a two-way street.
Yeah.
So,
and kids can take, like, I've heard some people say, well, they need laptops to take notes. Like, no, they don't. You take notes the way we took notes. I'm sorry if I sound like an old person. Yeah, get a notebook. Okay. By the way, all of my notebooks are from the 90s, so I'm pretty red. This is a very old. I have a bunch of these left over. If anybody wants them.
I don't know. We're sounding old and curmudgeon.
We are.
So.
Okay. We might have to cut this out, but can we play one last thing? One last thing.
Yes. Have you, before we play the one last thing, have you described the different things? It's boomer, doomer, zoomer.
Yes.
Bloomer?
Bloomer. Bloomer is the doomer.
Those are the four?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Doomer is a bloomer is after a doomer has become kind of gotten some self-help and started to get their life together. And
okay. What's the last thing you want to play?
The clown that we've talked about, who people are going to start seeing probably a lot more of this meme, Honkler. The Honkler is like an updated version of sort of Pepe, but he's a clown. And you've probably seen him online now. People are using the clown frog a lot. And it just represents that we're in clown world. Everything's upside down. Like what we're being told is real news is fake news. You know,
right.
What we're being told is tolerance is intolerance. You know, it's like a.
They're right. Okay, what video are we going to look at? How do you want me to find Honkler? Because there's lots of Honkler stuff.
Well, on the Prince of Zimbabwe, there's actually a video called Honkler.
Okay, here we go.
Let me ask you something. What made you what you are? You had a bad day once in your life. You had a bad day and everything changed. One moment you're lost in a carnival of delight. The next takes you somewhere you don't want to be. Somewhere dark and cold, filled with the damp, ambiguous shapes and things you'd rather forget. You're going mad. So when you find yourself locked onto an unpleasant train of thought, remember this: there's always madness.
Okay, that was weird.
Right?
But I mean, I know we want to end the show because it's been a long show, but
Yeah.
I think it's important to. Does everyone even understand where Pepe comes from?
They
Pepe
probably
the clown.
They probably don't, because what happened with Pepe is that the media was successful in calling it and getting people to believe it was some kind of white nationalist logo.
Right. So really briefly, 4chan. There's a 4chan discussion where just random stuff is posted and whatever. And Pepe was a cartoon clown. He had no white supremacy over.
A cartoon frog.
I'm sorry. I said clown. I meant frog. He was a cartoon frog. There was no white supremacist overtones at all. He was posted for laughs, basically. And then people started manipulating him and making like a frown sign on him, and instead of a smiling frog. And then there was just a whole bunch of random kind of events, and someone randomly so LOL, laugh out loud, turned to LEL, just kind of through the telephone game, basically, is a way to think about it. Turned to LEL, and then it turns to Kek, K-E-K, because K is one letter off of L on the keyboard and also in the alphabet. So it turns to Kek, and so you would get Keks instead of lols on, and this is nothing to do with politics right now, right? You get Keks instead of lols, blah, blah, blah. And then someone noticed that there was an ancient god called Kek, and there was a picture of there was a hieroglyph or whatever of Kek, and it appeared to be a person. It looked kind of like a person at a computer, which is weird because it's old, right? And there was a frog in this picture as well, and so they started to joke that, oh, this is a real religion. The Kek god is real, and they started to joke that memes are creating reality. This was the joke that, oh, we came up with this Kek as a frog, and it created the reality of this god, and so there's this power in memes, and basically that morphed into this very real power they realized they had, where anything they said, they could get the media. This is ultimate trolling, right? They could get the media triggered and convince the media of anything. And so they took the Nazi flag and made like a Kekistan flag out of the flag, and they just did a whole bunch of stuff to troll the media to get the media to say, hey, this is a white supremacy signal or
It's like
symbol,
it's
right?
like how they've trolled the media to purposefully to try and see if the media would believe that the OK symbol means white power,
Right.
and the media believes that now. It worked, and they did the same. They're doing the same thing right now with they're trying to make the media believe that a hashtag is the new white supremacist symbol.
They're trying to make it a deconstructed swastika. The hashtag is like a version of a swastika. Yeah.
And the media, I already saw CNN already did a report on it.
I don't think that was real.
Oh, okay. I
saw a screenshot of that. I'm not sure it's real.
Oh, I got trolled.
Yeah, well, no, I think that's part of the elevation to legitimacy is faking that it's being covered, because then someone will see it and start covering it, and like it will eventually actually be covered. So I think that I think this is all intentional. But what's happened with the clown thing is they've taken, because the trolling has worked so well with the media, especially in Trump's election and post-Trump's presidency, they've seen the media reacting to all this craziness, like Keri said, the OK sign, all the stupid stuff, right? This gets back to what you said earlier. They feel like they're living in a clown world, so they've now just put a rainbow clown wig on Pepe and a clown nose on Pepe, and the whole video we just watched, for those listening, was like about the clown Pepe running around town, honking his honker at people, and that making people angry, right? So he's like running around being a clown, having fun, and everyone's pissed off at him, and he's getting banned and ostracized because he's like running around doing things a clown would do.
Well, and it starts off with a bunch of NPCs,
right,
like screaming at him, almost like in Invasion of the Body Snatchers, where those who've been body snatched are like scream when they see someone who's not a NPC, for example. And so they're all screaming at him, and then people become afraid of him in the video.
But all he did to earn that hatred of those NPCs at the beginning was honk like a clown. Yeah. He just sat there and like honk, 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 and they all they got angry at him.
Yeah.
So it's actually, the thing about this stuff is it's funny and it looks very silly and it looks kind of dumb from the outside, but it is very poignant social commentary. They're accurately explaining what's happening. It's not dumb. Well, it's actually it's smart.
It's actually it's mimetic warfare, which there's a book about that I've been wanting to read. I'm blanking on the name, but I mean, this is what the Pentagon is trying to learn how to use memes, how to do mimetic warfare. This is not something to just sniff at. This kind of stuff changes the culture.
Yeah,
it can change a vote.
And you may not think it does. If you're a boomer by the new definition, you might not think that this matters and changes a vote. But if you're a Zoomer, if you're younger, this does matter. And they will, even if they're not voting now, they will grow up to vote. And this is affecting their outlook on the world. And frankly, I think it's healthy and great, because we are living in a clown world. What we are living in is ridiculous. The media is ridiculous. It is absolutely ridiculous. It is a clown world. And so you might not get it if you're an old person, and you might be like, no, CNN is very important. Fox News is better than CNN. You know what? You're ridiculous. The Zoomers get how ridiculous this world is.
Yes.
And they are mocking the hell out of you. And good for them. They're going to grow up and hopefully unseat you, because this deserves to be destroyed. That's the thing. I'm not a nihilist. I don't want to destroy everything, but this culture, this legacy media culture, this clown culture does deserve to be destroyed.
Yeah.
And let's hope the Zoomers can destroy it.
Can we call this episode "Old People Explain What Young People Are Into"? If it's okay, I would like to go out on a 25-second video. It's very short, and it's by a popular Zoomer YouTuber, I would say, named Zymo Nitrum, and I just sent it to you on Twitter. It's called Honk Honk.
Okay, Keri, this is the one you want to end on. You're going to do the outro after this. You ready?
I'm ready. Thank you guys for watching, and for those of you listening today, thanks for your patience. You probably tuned out since it was so many visuals, but hopefully you can go look some of this stuff up on YouTube if you're still listening. If you haven't already, please subscribe on YouTube. And if you haven't checked out our Subscribe Star, we would appreciate it if you do. You can support us at any level. If you like the podcast, you can even $1 a month is helpful, very helpful.
Yeah, you will be unpersoned for as little as $1 a month, and it can cost you more if you want to be more than unpersoned. But if you just want to be generally any kind of unpersoned, head over to Subscribe Star. Thanks, everyone.